Straight Up Chicago investors, welcome to another edition of the Straight Up Tuesday Tip. With us today, we have past guest John Warren, I believe from episode 9, if that's correct. Also the host of the Chicago West Suburban Real Estate Investors, which is held the last Tuesday of each month. So depending on when this airs, it might be tonight. So make sure you tune in. And then John and I we're coworkers now. We're both with Second City Real Estate. So John, welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks, guys. Great to be here again.
Awesome. All right. So we have a kind of a two-part question in one here. So we know that evaluating the after repair value and also evaluating projected rents, it's not a perfect science. There's a little bit of an art to it. But what are some common mistakes you see investors make where they think they're going to get, $700K in the ARV and it comes in at $625, and same for rents. They think they're going to rent this unit out for $1,600 based on comps, and they end up getting $1,400. What are some common ones you see where people can look to avoid moving forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a bunch of things that come to mind. The first thing that comes to mind, though, is if you're selling a property, knowing what kind of financing your buyer is going to use to buy it. This is something I talk a lot about with my sellers when we're getting ready to list a property. So, for instance, if you're in the city, knowing your FHA loan limits, for instance, if you're selling a multifamily, is huge. Because if a buyer can't get a loan on a property because you're over the loan limit, then you're cutting out a huge portion of the buyer pool. So that's one that I go over a lot with sellers. Another thing I see people mess up, and I actually was guilty of this last year. I messed up this on one of my properties, unfortunately. Let's say you're comping at a property and you have a nice 2-flat and you don't have a basement, and you're looking at all these great comps and they all have a finished basement or a finished attic or something like that. That is another way you can really goof up on your ARV. Essentially what you're doing is you're missing a ton of square footage, which, a lot of these properties are older. And so sometimes the square footage numbers have, it's sort of irrelevant what you see online. So when you're comping something out, making sure that you actually know that you're comparing apples to apples and you're not, your property doesn't have 1,000 square feet less because you missed a huge finished space that's not, in the county records or something like that. Another, I guess a third one would be to make sure you have a garage. May sound kind of funny, but a lot of times properties may not have a garage or may have a small garage. I did a flip, only one, fortunately for me, because I don't like flipping, but I did a flip a few years ago and we had a really small garage, which is something I didn't take into account at the front end. And that was not fun when we went to sell it because we had this junky little garage we had to spend a bunch of money on, and it was not a great garage when it was all said and done. So those are all kind of ones that I look out for when I'm, preparing a market analysis for a client or trying to figure out ARV for somebody for a refi.
So what value would you put on a garage? Maybe range it from, for me, I know Southside, a garage is probably worth $5,000 to $8,000, but what type of value would you put on a garage in maybe A, B type markets?
That's so tricky, right? I know when you do your real estate classes, like Tom just finished his, they teach you that you're supposed to be able to put a perfect value on it. And then in the real world, it's so hard. What I try to do typically is find comps that have a similar garage setup in my market, which isn't a pass mark on your question, but it's tricky, because a new garage, costs around 20 to 25,000, maybe on the builder's grade end to slap one up. So that's kind of one marker I use, but I feel like it's going to be between 15 and 30,000, depending on the quality of your area. Obviously, if you're, in the loop, that's different than if you're in a suburb or something, but.
Yeah. Just to comment on that, I recently had an appraisal where they had one in there, a comp that did not have a garage, and it was a $25K credit. So I know it probably differs by neighborhood too, like where, if you're in a commuter area or where, some places, if you're near the L, you probably get away with it more than others.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's tricky, right? It's very, very location specific.
So John, what about, let's talk a little bit about rents. What are some things you see people overshoot for rents as far as, I'm going to get 1,600 and they end up getting way less?
Yeah, this is one of the things on the front end, you should always be conservative and then be pleasantly surprised, as opposed to thinking you're going to be the very top rents in the area. I think the number one thing for me is missing size of bedrooms. A lot of times you have a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, but they have like the really tiny, 7 by 9 bedrooms or things like that. And, tenants will rent it. It's always rentable. It's just going to impact your rent price. Again, going back to a garage, missing whether you have, good off-street parking or garage space that you can rent, there's real value that can be assigned to that. And I guess the other one would be, again, if let's say that you're looking at a unit that has like a basement space or an attic space or some sort of an ancillary space, if you're using that as your comp and you don't have that, you're not going to get as much in rents because that comp would have way more square footage available. So those are all kind of some things I look at when I'm looking at rent prices when I'm pricing out a rental.
I like to tell people that think about this on the back end of your project. It might be 8, 12, 16 weeks into finishing something up. You want to get that place rented fast. You don't want to test the market for a high rent and ultimately end up dropping after 3, 4, 5, going to a different month type thing. You want to run your numbers that you're going to put on the market. You're going to have good pictures because you just maybe rehab the place and it's going to rent within a few days. So that's kind of the mindset, that feeling that you want to have on the back end. So price accordingly.
Yeah.
Mark, you may be able to verify this, but for me, I manage about 62 doors. And when I'm pricing my own units, I want to make sure I'm pricing it so I'm getting the best tenants that are interested. So one way I know that I've overpriced it, which I did last year on one of my own, I was off by about $50 and I was getting only unqualified people interested in it. And as soon as I price it correctly, boom, we got a fantastic tenant in there within literally like a week or two. So That's another thing for me that I've always found is if I stretch, I get, bad quality tenants interested.
I tell people this, if you are, you're overpriced, if you're only getting sad stories where, that person shows up to the showing and they're courting your real estate and they're telling you everything of why you should accept them and how jacked up their app's going to look. Or if you are 100% getting Section 8 tenants. Now, Section 8 tenants aren't bad. I'm not saying in that sense, but think about this, put it this way. So, poor applicants and poor credit background and all that stuff. So less than qualified applicants and Section 8, they struggle the most to get housing, whether the fair housing, all that's set up to help them. It's still, no matter what, that's a reality. There's people that do discriminate and they will go to whatever they can get. They get to a point where they'll go to whatever their options are. So I always tell people, if that's all you're getting after 10 days, then you're priced too high at that point. So.
Yeah. One other comment to add too that I've started to realize and take more into consideration the flow of the property, right? Just because you have a 2-bed, 1-bath doesn't mean it's the same as every other 2-bed, 1-bath. Is it a funky layout? Are the bedrooms, 7 by 8 compared to the comp at 12 by 10 for the bedroom size? It's not just a spreadsheet, right? You're 2-1 just because the other one's a 2-1. I've stayed away from those smaller bedrooms, those funky layouts, or if you get it, you got to get it low enough so you can make the appropriate changes to it.
It's funny, Tom, you said that. I think it's the same thing whether you're selling a property or renting a property. So if you're selling it, think about what your end buyer wants. And if you're renting it, think about what a renter would want. We have, in one of my properties, we converted 3 1-bedrooms into 2-bedrooms with an open layout. And they're really, really small. I realized after we started renting them that there are literally only 2 closets, 1 in each bedroom. There's no hall closet, no linen closet, no storage. And so, that's going to attract good tenants, but it's attracting for us roommate setups typically, which are people that are very budget conscious. Families really, it's too small for them. So that affected our price. Again, I think I originally comped it against legitimate 2-bedrooms that had a dining room and, extra spaces and closets and things. And so, yeah, they're small. So we have to price them appropriately.
I think when you have that 3rd bedroom that might be really tiny and not having a closet, it's always best to, market as a 2-bedroom plus a den, and you get on the higher end of the 2-bedroom scale versus trying to, when people are looking for a 3-bedroom and they show up and they're disappointed how small that 3-bedroom is, you go through a lot of people versus the people looking for a 2-bedroom show up and holy cow, we got a bonus room. I think you have a different type of person that's coming in to see your place.
I think, a lot of times people focus on the finished quality, but that's something that we all, talk about ad nauseum, right? The granites and do you have stainless steel or not? What kind of floors do you put in? I guess one thing I try to do with my own units when I'm renting them is I try to give a few things to make them sticky. It's not easy to put into a spreadsheet, but one of our buildings, we built storage units and there's a free storage unit. So, it didn't cost us much to build it. And I don't know that it really gets us any extra revenue or that it would, but it's something that our tenants, they have a place to store their stuff. If they're in a 1-bedroom, which is really nice. would cost them 50, 60 bucks, or I don't know. I had to price it out, but it's just something where I actually have it there mostly because I'm hoping they stay a few extra years because that makes it way more profitable for us. If they stay, let's say 3 turns instead of 1, then we win. We didn't have to turn the unit over twice.
Yeah. And for those of you dealing in apartments, whether it be kind of 3 flats, 6 flats, 12 flats and up, I think laundry for us in our data and historically is the biggest thing. Having hookup either in the unit or at least in the building. I think that when you're able to market your small 2-bedroom, 1-bath with laundry hookup in the unit or laundry in the building, I think that gets your place rented faster. And then you think about this, when someone's in a 2-1 with laundry in the unit and they go to find another place, they struggle to find another place with that. And it's hard to give up laundry in the unit as a way of life, I guess.
Yeah, it's almost a necessity in some neighborhoods, right? Like you're just not gonna be able to compete without it in certain areas. Cool, good stuff. I'm looking through my notes
that I have.
Go ahead, John.
Sorry, I was just going to throw one more thing in there. And some of the bigger buildings, I have a 19 unit, 22 unit. We've been installing the pay range laundry. So the tenants
you got me hooked on that
app, which is pretty amazing, right? It's not quite in-unit laundry, I know, but at least it makes it a little bit more convenient because it gives the tenant a notification when their laundry's done. It essentially brings, common laundry as close to first world amenity as you can get it. And from the owner's perspective, you don't have to go collect coins, which has been one of the best things for me in 2021 is I don't have any coins to collect. Amazing. So I don't know, something else maybe somebody can consider if they're going to do a laundry upgrade.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going through my notes. One other thing, just kicking back to the ARV for a second, lot size. A lot of times, if you have a 25 by 125 standard Chicago lot and you're comparing yourself to someone who's got a 40, like that and the building's just bigger and wider, it's going to feel much better. And also from an appraiser standpoint or from comps, going to have a real hard time. It's not apples to apples. You're in the hole there. So don't compare yourself. If you do, put the necessary credit on there, or deduction, I should say.
Adjustment. That's
the word. Jimmy, can you edit all that out? Mark's voice saying adjustment when I was supposed to say it. So, all right, cool. Awesome. John, appreciate it. I think we'll end with the Chicago fact here. So, and John, I picked this one specifically for you because I know you're a Cicero and Berwyn guy here. So I got a Berwyn fact here. So although Berwyn, yeah. So now Mark gets to answer first, but then you can correct him if he needs a little help here. And this one's hard. All right. So Berwyn has a total area of less than 4 square miles. However, it still borders 7 other suburbs. Can you name them? And Mark, I'm hoping you get to 5 here. I think 5 is an acceptable answer.
So you have Oak Park.
Yep.
You have Cicero.
Mm-hmm.
You have Chicago. Is there parts of that Chicago?
Nope.
Park Forest.
Forest Park.
Man, I always switch those two.
So you had 3. Oak Park, Cicero, Forest
Riverside,
Park.
Bridgeview.
Not Bridgeview.
Broadview.
No.
Oh, really?
You have one. You're missing one to the south, and the other 3 are still to the west.
To the west. So you got Bellwood.
No, you're
Maywood. I'm sorry, Maywood.
No.
Oh man, Maywood. Oh, Brookfield.
This is really not fair, Tom. That's hard, man.
Man, this is hard. John, can you jump in on any?
Jump
of these?
in, John.
I can help him out. I think we're missing. I think it borders North Riverside technically.
Correct.
So North Riverside 5. And Riverside. Lyons.
Yep. And then you're missing one to the south. Yep. That's it.
Dang.
You're 7.
I wouldn't have got Stickney.
Yeah. Stickney. Yeah.
So it's weird. It's on the west side. There's 4, and then just 1 to the north, 1 to the east, 1 to the south. Oak Park, Cicero, Stickney, going clockwise there, and then Lyons, Riverside, North Riverside, Forest Park.
I'm a map guy, so I will study a map at some point later on today just to understand this now. So not that I will ever get asked that question in my life again. I just kind of have to understand why I got it wrong. But
John, missed North Riverside Mall, Mark. That's it.
Yeah. So John, thank you for coming back. We love having our original guests back on here. You're part of that first 10 that rolled out the first 2 weeks, and now we're a year past that. So it's pretty exciting to have you back on here. Tom, thank you as always. Everyone listening, please share us with an investor friend. Please go onto our website. Check out the real estate meetup groups that we have on there. We have the page that lists out, I think we're at 12 local RIAs, local real estate meetups. Some of them are virtual for you that are not in the area. And some of them are starting to meet in person again for those of you that want to just get back out. Straight Up Chicago Facebook Club, join on there. If you got off-market properties, if you're looking for resources or vendors or whatnot, we have a pretty good community going there. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you on Thursday.